even in some cases, scientists are willing to risk the scorn of others, but they find that their colleagues in their university departments aren't happy with that, because they fear that the entire university could lose its funding. The entire university department could lose its funding, not just the scientist that decides to go rogue. So there are a lot of pressures on scientists. I can't. In some cases, the scientists have told me what their reasons are, and others, of course, they won't tell me. But that's something that I have remarked, that a lot of scientists do not want to be public.
Dr. Solanke from Germany said something was written in Wikipedia regarding your interview with him, that he was misquoted. Do you agree with that, or is that just somebody going on Wikipedia writing whatever they want to write to discount your interview with him?
Well, it's interesting because Solanke told me that, and he said, "Where have I ever said this?" And I gave him about six citations for where he had said it, and I think he was quiet after that. I don't know if he didn't realize how often he had made certain assertions, or if there was some kind of a bravado. But it's indisputable that he made the claims he made. He just wasn't happy with them being put in, being repeated by me. Because it didn't serve the interests of his institute.
Then I would probably respond to that section on Wikipedia. I used to think Wikipedia was a great thing, and now with everybody being able to go in, well, not now, that's how it started. Everybody can go in and change everything, so you can smear, discredit, lie, distort, and people will think that what they're reading, because it's Wikipedia, is all facts, and it's not. When I read this little piece that he was misquoted, I thought, how could someone do an interview with somebody or put somebody in a book that goes all over the world, particularly on something this serious, and misquote him? It didn't make sense to me, so I'm glad you addressed it. Dr. Shaviv from Israel, talk a little bit about him.
Well, he co-authored a study that concluded that most of the global warming comes from natural causes. It comes from the cosmic rays. He came under heavy criticism, as did his co-author.
What is going to happen now with regard to your book being out? Are you doing speaking engagements, traveling to talk about this book? What is the next step for you?
Well, a paperback edition of the Deniers is just coming out now. It might be out this week, for all I know. And yes, I do some traveling, and I do talk to members of the press, such as you, who are interested. And from my perspective, the debate is nearing its end. The majority of the public in most of the Western countries now have radically changed their views. They're very skeptical of the notion that global warming represents anything dangerous. I think we should be able to wrap this up fairly soon.
Talk about your work with Energy Probe. What are you doing with nuclear power, if you wouldn't mind just sharing a few minutes about that?
Well, we're critics of nuclear power. We've been critics of nuclear power since the 1970s, mainly on economic grounds. Nuclear power has never been economic anywhere in the world. No nuclear reactor has been built without government backstops. There's no reason really for this technology to be promoted, but it's being promoted out of a kind of ideological commitment that so many people have to nuclear power. it's actually a very inflexible technology. I view it as an immature technology. Nuclear power has to run 24/7. It's in the nature of the technology. Otherwise, its operations can be dangerous. But so because it has to run 24/7, it doesn't have the flexibility that other forms of generating electricity have. So it will be, because it's running flat out all the time, a plant will provide more than enough energy to meet needs at say 3 o'clock in the morning when people are asleep, and too little energy when people need it at say 6 o'clock in the evening. You can't ramp up nuclear reactors to give you extra power when you need it. You can't ramp it down when society goes to sleep. So the result is that the few jurisdictions that have tried to rely on nuclear power have gotten into trouble. The best example of this is France, which generates close to 80% of its electricity from nuclear power. What happens is, during most of the day, it's producing much more than it needs. So it has to export its surplus to neighboring countries. But because power at 3 o'clock doesn't have much value, it exports its electricity at a loss to its neighbors. It's lucky it has neighbors that are larger than it who can absorb the surplus electricity, but it's exporting that electricity at a loss. Meanwhile, at peak periods, it's short of electricity because it can't ramp up its nuclear plants. So at peak periods, when electricity is very expensive, it has to import electricity from its neighbors. So France brings in a lot of electricity, most of it from Germany. And that is ruinously expensive. So it's importing electricity at high cost. It's exporting it at low cost. It's losing a lot of money in the process. It became so disastrous for France that the head of the French power utility, Électricité de France, called the financial situation catastrophic. France is now bringing back its old oil-fired generating stations that were built in the 1960s to meet its peak requirements because it found it just couldn't go on on this nuclear path.
What do you think we should be doing for transportation?
My preferred remedy is to start tolling all the roads, to toll roads based on the demand for those roads. So the tolling should be higher at peak periods and lower at off-peak periods, and that way the road system would be used much more intelligently. I think we would eliminate all traffic jams if we had proper pricing systems in place. The system is called congestion pricing. A few European cities have started it, and Europe plans to go to the system. It has proven to be very popular. You might think that tolling would be unpopular, but in practice it became popular. A good example is what happened in Stockholm. Before the tolling experiment started, the public was against it. The polling that took place showed that the public didn't want it, but a 6-month trial period was put in place, and the public was given a chance to try it out, and then a referendum was held after it. Well, as soon as the trial period started, Stockholm residents saw that their travel times decreased, life became easier for them. They found it wasn't difficult to rearrange their schedules to avoid the peak pricing. Then